and there's no air in the box. So I'm sitting here and I've got a cat in a box with a lid on it. And you'd say, well, the cat is dead. And I'd say, well, how do you know it's dead? Good day, everyone. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Here to talk about the latest news in obstacle racing. Some Spartan news happened over the weekend, and I want to talk about it. So I brought my old friend Ian on from over in the UK, the UKOCR Podcast, and we talk about what these recent layoffs mean to the future of Spartan. Then we cover some other stuff that's OCR related. This is part of a longer conversation, which will be in a podcast either today or tomorrow, but I know some of you just can't wait for this kind of news, and some of you just really like the YouTube stuff. This is the part where I remind you to like and subscribe to this channel. If you're new, welcome. Glad you could be here. We cover all kinds of fun OCR stuff. We got obstacle videos. We got a really cool World's Toughest Mudder documentary from 2 years ago. I got another sweet one coming up about the Last Man Standing event we were at a couple weeks ago. But for now, let's get to Ian K. and I. Let's get into the biggest news of the day. Let's go to my very own Instagram post from yesterday afternoon, which currently has 954 likes and 313 comments. That's not even counting the countless amounts of shares that have happened and the Facebook comments. Would you believe I asked ChatGPT for another word besides fired?
What did it come up with?
Several. There's like 20 of them. There's sacked. There's let go, right? But I think I came away with a winner here. Spartan reduces staff. I think that was, a nice way to put it, no?
I agree, and I love the pictures that you used. The Steve one is great. I love the one with Garfield and the cigar. Gabe, I don't really know, so I have no idea if that's a correct likeness or if you just picked someone's random picture. I have no idea, Matt.
Yeah, that guy, that could be my neighbor. That could be my neighbor. Well, because I'm in the know about these things, I've kind of known what might be coming and what might not be coming. And here's what I want to say about it. So the outpouring of affection for especially Steve and Garfield, great, like expected it. But well, it's all over now. Spartan is going down the tubes. I'll never do a Spartan again. That's the sky is falling. I think anytime we see that post, you could probably track those people, and they've probably said that post. They probably said that last year and the year before and the year before that. So Garfield, definitely one of the best race directors they've ever had. Steve is a course manager, so people sometimes confuse him as being the same role as Garfield, but it's not. He works with the race directors. And obviously on-site commentating, he was great at giving us great race previews about walking the course, and all the athletes personally loved him. He's a racer himself. Gabe, I didn't know that well. And according to some comments, some people don't like him very much, it turns out. He had sent out an email that said, hey guys, I'm being let go. And so I decided to put it in with both of these guys. But yeah, I don't think the world is ending. I think, as I've always said when these things happen, Ian K, despite what we think of them, they do put on a good enough race that does attract 6,000 to 8,000 people a weekend in America, and that's enough to be profitable, we think. What are your thoughts?
Well, firstly, I'm going to paraphrase Mark Twain when he said reports of Spartan's death have been exaggerated.
Greatly exaggerated.
Greatly exaggerated. I couldn't even get the quote right, but it's a obvious shame. I don't know him personally too well. You'd expect me and Steve to be close buddies. You know, we're both from the UK, and there's only 5 people who live here, but I don't think our paths have actually crossed. But by all accounts, they were good people.
Garfield also from the UK.
I always thought he was Australian.
No, he's a Geordie.
Oh. I'm going to be kicked out of this country. I hope you got room because, yeah, I had no. I guess because I've always associated Garfield with being in America. I hadn't ever thought that he came from over here, and Garfield isn't actually that common a UK name.
But
So
but isn't Griffiths? That feels like a common name.
we have lots of surnames. Yeah, I guess Griffiths is. We'll probably get on to the Elite 15, but you had a Laura Griffith in the Elite 15 this past weekend.
There you go.
So yeah, it can and
You
can't
really
be
didn't
it.
know you really didn't know he was English when he posts all the time hanging out with Steve and they do their business.
No, I honestly never placed the accent, and I know Geordie accent, but for some strange reason, it always came up a little bit Australian. Maybe he'd been talking to Watson too much. I don't know.
Well, you're in trouble, but okay.
I'm very much in trouble. But moving back to the point in hand, as you say, they keep getting people to come to races. They're obviously doing something right, providing they keep putting on races. I was having a chat with some friends this morning. Shout out to some solo mudders, and they were talking about this whole sky's falling. And often your super fans are the worst people to dictate to you what to do because they tend to want you to stay as you always have been because that's what they fell in love with. They don't want you to change. But in order to improve as a company, you have to change. Otherwise, the only people you're going to get is these super fans, and they'll eventually dwindle anyway. So it's getting that balance. We see in wrestling all the time, don't we? Where the internet wrestling community gets really hot and heavy over something. The WWE completely ignores them most of the time, and what do you know? It keeps making money hand over fist.
Do you think they brought in The Rock to distract us from the problems, or was that already in the storyline?
Oh, it's absolutely to distract from problems. It may have been in the storyline, and it may have been serendipitous, but yeah, this whole thing is to distract from the lawsuit and allegations. Because I definitely don't want to get sued. I reckon he can sue me in the UK. The allegations surrounding one Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
So you think uh one one Triple H called Dwayne The Rock Johnson and said, Dwayne, you got to get over here. We got to fix this.
No, I do, however, think that one, oh, how do you say his name? Is it Ariel Emmanuel, the guy in charge of TKO now?
Maybe Ari or Ariel. I don't know.
Yeah, Ariel Emmanuel, the guy who's ultimately now in charge of WWE, who just happens to also represent The Rock. His endeavor is the
Mm,
agent for The Rock. It wouldn't surprise me if a phone call was made from him to say, can you come and help and get us some nice publicity?
yeah, well, I think the benefit of uh, Vince McMahon, the person, playing this character called Mr. McMahon, that is essentially always been a heel. For our new listeners, that's a bad guy. Um, it kind of works that we all hated him anyway. It kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like, if the fall from grace was from Cena, if Cena was somehow involved, right, it would be much worse, right? I mean, I think wrestling fans would show up regardless, but just as a mark on the company, it's kind of like when stuff happens in the USC, the average, we say Joe and Jane six pack over here already think it's just not really for them. And so it's not like when an actor gets caught or a musician gets caught. It's like, oh, well, it's wrestling. Oh, well, it's UFC. Nobody kind of cares anyway.
Right. Exactly. And you can go back to football with the analogy as well, can't you? Certain players, if they get caught doing stuff, it's, oh, well, yeah, whatever. But if it's like the white meat quarterback type and he gets caught doing stuff, then the sky's falling.
Right. Exactly. So let's bring it back around.
So
People. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, what now needs to happen is Hobie Cole needs to come back as a director of Spartan, and then everything will be fine.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, this idea of, well, it was better when it was younger and it was better before. And, I like that quote from what's her name, these are the good old days. Like th- you've got to stay focused on the present. It's always, in hindsight, things are always better. It's almost always better in the past, right? Oh, it was better when it was this and it was that. And, we relay it to having a favorite band that you felt like you were part of some exclusive club, and then they sell a big album and you don't like them anymore, which is weird because wouldn't you want these guys to be successful? So, yes, when a company goes from very small and truly winging it in all ways, including really long courses and courses that went in and out of mountains that you were bushwhacking, it's like, well, that works for a small percentage of people. We're going to sell it to the world. We're going to make it, 5K, 10K, half marathon distance. We're going to probably make the obstacles pretty uh, streamlined, all that stuff. So personality wise, it is a bummer. And it is a bummer when you show up and it's none of the people that you've grown to love at the race. Um, and there'll be new people that come in that you can like. And I think the experience in the field will still be good. I have no idea, because owns Joe and whoever his investors are own so many different things. We hear of their late paying athletes. So I have no idea if it's profitable. I just know that the races themselves do seem to be doing okay. They're not desperate for customers, but are they making profit on those customers? Are they too expensive to acquire? Is this long-term plan working for them? I don't know, but I don't think that any two people. When Mike Morris left, I thought that was a huge blow. Mike Morris laid the groundwork. He was their production guy, the head of all the production guys and RDs, and he, I think, would tell Joe what for, because he was willing to, like, say, hey, I'm not doing this for this cheap, or this decision is stupid. Or when he left, I thought, and it continued to go on, that they put in, I think they do have, as weird as they are, and they change a lot of decisions. Again, I think there's a big book called Standard Operating Procedures. This is how you build a sprint. I think they've done that pretty good, right? That's as an example.
I think they've done that really well, and having that standardized process and put a pin in that favorite band because on a stadium tour, because I guess we're going to go on to High Rocks in a little while, and I think that might be quite appropriate for that discussion too. No, you're absolutely right. They've set the structure, and I guess if you're an experienced Spartan racer, it's up to you. You can go and see if you still enjoy it. And if you enjoy it, great. Or you can decide, no, not for me, and go and do something else. So Spartan will either carry on or it won't. I think, as you said, Matt, it's almost like a Schrodinger's cat kind of thing when it comes to profitability. I don't think anyone knows until it either departs this world or we're celebrating its 50th anniversary.
What's a cat can?
Schrodinger's cat, surely you know that?
Well, are you talking about the box?
Yeah. So if Spartan's profits are in a box and no one knows whether it's profitable or not at this moment, you presume it is, because like the cat in the box, you presume it's alive, but until the box gets opened, who knows?
I think we should talk about this for a while. This is one of my favorite questions.
Really? Okay, carry on.
So you put a cat in the box, right? And there's no air in the box. So I'm sitting here and I've got a cat in a box with a lid on it, right? And you'd say,
Mhm.
well, the cat is dead. And I'd say, well, how do you know it's dead? It's like, well, I just know. Well, you don't know until you take the lid off. So how is it actually dead until you take the lid off? Did you now make it dead? Did I explain that correctly?
You did. It kind of exists in a point where it's both alive and dead at the exact same moment. And if
Isn't
you
that
take
mind
that,
blowing?
It really, really is. It's going to be a tree in a woods thing as well, which is very similar. The
Yeah, but that's
if no
not
one's
nearly as
around.
that's not nearly, the stakes are so much lower. Tree falls in the forest, nobody hears it. Who gives a shit? Like, is that cat alive or dead? Are you in fact killing the cat by taking the lid off? That's the part that's such a mind fucker.
That actually is, and that reminds me of something I learned in law, Mark, which may either be really, really boring or really, really interesting for the listener. So I'll tell you about it. It's UK law, but it's tortious liability. So it's
Tortious liability.
yeah, so
Amazing.
TORT. And it gets to this question of if you see someone drowning and you leave them and just walk on, you're probably not liable. If they drown, they drown. If you help them and then they still drown, it can suddenly become your fault.
So what are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say, if you see someone drowning in the UK, just walk them by. Just walk them by, alert the authorities. I'm kidding, listen. I'm kidding, but yeah,
What if there's a cat in a box floating, but it's starting to sink? Should you jump in and save that cat?
depends what color's the cat, or do you not know until you open the
You
box?
don't know until you open the box, dude.
Oh, that's because if you open it and it's a live black cat, no, that's bad luck.
Oh well, now you're getting wonky. So
No, sorry, Matt.
it's okay. Well, that's why I like talking to you. You appreciate, you and I have similar. I think you and I have similar mindset and similar sense of humor. We just go about it very differently, which is I think what makes us a good show.
Yeah.
So, um, back to the point at hand. I released some numbers a couple of weeks ago about the race in California. That's the first race of the year and how it's doing. And I think we're going to see more of that. I think we'll see good numbers across the question is, are they, I feel like they reduced. They went from like 50 something races, maybe 60 down to like high 40s, which I think is good for America. But now I feel like they've gone back up, which feels like maybe, you cannibalize yourself if you're going to do trifecta in Carolina and Georgia and here and here and here, instead of just putting more races in less places. They at least were smart enough to come up with like, oh, let's do 20 trifecta weekends instead of 3 or 5 or 10. That's wise. That gives you a lot of bang for your buck in those weekends. But I still feel like they might be expanding maybe too much.
I'd be minded to agree. It's always better to let the fan want more than it is to oversaturate the market. I think it's a very smart idea to have so many trifectas because that then draws people in because people want to do multiple trifectas in a year. You get people trying to chase down their 15th, their 16th, their 17th trifecta. And for those who just want to do one Spartan, it's perfect.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Let me pull this up first. I want to make sure I have my facts correct. I do not want to be incorrect on this unlike the boys over at Race Brain, who are just like, oh, we're just an entertainment show. We don't have to be right. I want to get the facts right. Let me pull this up.
I could have been so sarcastic then, but I like the guys over at Race Brain, so
So do
I'll
I.
just let that. Yeah, I'll just
So do
let
I.
that slide.
I do too. That's why. Listen, I listen to them. They listen to me somewhat. Okay. Spartan Team, United Kingdom. Here's a post by one Luke De Benedictus, one Jack Carpenter, one Fergal Keeney. What a great English name that is. Fergal. Hey, Fergie. Jason Connor, another great English name. So we have done away with the pro team. We do not have one for a couple years now, but you have one and Spain has one. But what does it mean? Free races, nice kit. What does it mean?
Honestly, I don't know. I could guess it probably means free race codes and kit to wear because they'll often be wearing that kind. I'd have to reach out to our friend Jack and Ben. I should probably point out Fergal is not English. He's
Okay.
Irish.
Okay.
So it's Spartan UK and Ireland apparently. So he's fine. But
It's
yeah,
it's
I'm
not
not.
it's not GB.
It's not GB. It's UK and Ireland allegedly. Even though we haven't had a Irish event for I don't know how long.
Ooh, quick side note. Are you watching the Six Nations on Netflix?
Probably not on Netflix, but it is on BBC. Yes.
Okay. Not the actual competition, the Netflix show about Six Nations.
Oh, I've not watched that. Yeah, is it worth watching?
Well, if you're like me, okay, and you're a typical dumb American that doesn't know anything outside of America, and then you watch a show like Drive to Survive and you're actually into that sport, same thing. Like you see the different characters, each team, each nation has its own personality. Watching it with River, we're loving it. Big fan. Don't tell me what happens because I don't want to spoil it what happened last year, but so far I'm very into it.
So it's based on last year, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I won't spoil it, mainly because I can't actually remember. I've seen so many Six Nations in my life. I just can't actually remember who was last year.
Well, we
Uh,
know you
uh,
guys are into the football, and that's what we call soccer, and it's like this national pastime. But do you feel that way about rugby? Do you grow up watching it?
Rugby's an interesting thing, and we're going way down an alleyway here, but there's two rugbies in the UK.
Okay.
So you've got rugby union, which is Six Nations and all that, and you've got rugby league, which is more of a club level game, which is mainly in the northern part of the UK. So it's kind of like a corridor. So when you came and stayed with us, the area you were was a big rugby league area. So there's a Rochdale team, there's an Oldham team, and that, and it's a slightly different game. Imagine Canadian football.
Okay.
So I will pay attention to Six Nations, but I won't be watching it every single day. However, if you speak to some of your listeners who are down in the southern part of the UK, they will be massive rugby fans, as will Muddy Duck. Muddy Duck loves the Six Nations. Yeah, I think I annoy him every year when he says, "Oh, the big games are this week," and I'm like, "What's going on?" I know what's going on, but it just annoys him. But
Right.
yeah, it's around this time of the year people get really excited. You know, a bit like you don't care about college basketball until March.
Yes. Same thing.
Same thing. Six Nations, everyone's a rugby union fan. Maybe the World Cup, everyone's a rugby union fan. After that, it goes down to maybe Spartan numbers.
All right. So to answer the question, you don't know what it means. What I do find interesting is that here's a poster: first stop London West, second stop Midlands, third stop Southwest. And interestingly enough, from the UK social team, they used the same photo for all three, which is interesting. But specifically, that woman is an American. I don't know who the gentleman is, but that's Heather Golnick, American. So you think for your stops they would have put English people, no?
Maybe Spartan International has one Canva account and they sent that and maybe in a few weeks when we see the Asia Pacific Spartans start to announce their series, it will be the same people. I don't know. You'd think given that a complete amateur like me and someone who does it for a living like you, but doesn't have Spartans money behind you, given we can make adjustments to Canva and change the athletes, I have no clue why they didn't.
Yeah, well, and they show all these countries have a series: France, Italy, Spain, Hungary, UK, Switzerland, Germany slash Australia, Czech Republic. What does that say? Southern. Oh my God. Southern series. What is? where are Bled, Santa Domenica, and Malta?
Oh, that will be towards Italy, towards the former Yugoslavia, that area. Um, I I know Yugoslavia doesn't exist. The Balkans, I couldn't remember for
Okay,
a
got it.
time then. I
So all of
I
these
need
cities, all of these nations have national series prize money 1,500, 900, 600. Is that per race? Because we don't even have them
no,
per race.
no, that would be per series. I can't remember the last time we did per race, and I don't think there's ever been above a couple of £100 for a single race. I should correct you. It's Germany and Austria. We don't want to upset our Austrian brothers
What did I
and
say?
confuse them. Australia, which is a
Definitely.
bit
So
further south.
same. So so will there be the super Spartan honks, these pro teamers and those AGers? Is this a huge deal? Will they be excited to do? Let's see. I can do the UK series. It's just uh, in May. There's a Beast London West. June is the Midlands. Southwest. There's a sprint in August. But I could also sneak over and do the Spain series or the Italy series. Like, is that a big deal?
I think it is for some. So some will probably fly over, although and UK racers, you know I love you, but this may hurt. Outside of a couple, it would be literally for experience because some of the continental racers are just that much better than our current homegrown racers because they are more used to the Spartan way of doing things. As you know, OCR kind of grew up in different ways. Like in the UK, we were never about technicality. We were all the gritty mud and the enduring it. That's why Tough Mudder did so well over here. In America, you had all the heavy lifting, all the almost CrossFit things which evolved into Spartan. On the continent, it was all technical obstacles. And it's easier to go from being a technical obstacle racer to a Spartan racer. So whilst we're making progress, at the moment when it comes to Spartan races, a lot of the Europeans are slightly better than 98% of Spartan racers in the UK.
And do you think? Sorry, my wife just went by with looks like she's cleaning my son's room, which is disgusting. Um, do you think those that have left for the new green grass of High Rocks and Deca for that matter are gone and never coming back? Or do you think they might sneak in and do? Because I can tell you over here, not a lot are doing both. The money's gone. So they're, unless it's like, hey, I'll do a local one for fun, they're not chasing the series. I think the series this year in America, you will see brand new names because people are just kind of gone. Do you think some might still do both because you're, I don't know, easier to get to or?
Based on what I've seen in terms of like the names on the list that you read out, and there's also a female list as well. But the names you read out, I think all of them have done a High Rocks, and all of them will do Spartan. It may be that they concentrate more on Spartan and they just do one High Rocks a year as opposed to the away because there's no money either way for us. There's no money in DECA at all in Spain, I think you can get maybe €300 for winning, but that'll pay for your flight over maybe. So because we're doing it for fun, most people probably do both. Will that always be the case? I don't know, but I definitely say at least next couple of years,
But
people.
ours, most of our ones seem to have come from obstacle racing, whereas your lot, I don't know that I'd heard of them in obstacle racing, right? So who are your best UK people? You've got Graham, right? You've got Halliday, right? You've got Tom and Dina, right? Like, were they Spartan people before, or they like more CrossFitty?
Um, triathlon, triathlon and running for Tom and Dina. Graham, I think, was just really good in the gym. Um, Sandy, kind of CrossFitty, but I think he also had a back. I'd have to go back and listen, but I think he also had a background in just general keep fit. Let's see some of the others. Jade Skillen, who just set the UK record of the weekend, which I'm sure we'll get back to. She's a former Spartan Pro Team member,
I do not
so
believe in
she's
I do not believe in country records. We will not discuss them on this program. I will
okay.
only
We
discuss
want
I will only discuss world records not in somebody's gym, but recognized on a course somewhere by Deco or Hyrox.
okay, but yeah, looking down at some of our athletes, it's actually
Although I do have the record
amazing.
for, I live at Leslie Avenue in Georgia. I do have the Leslie Avenue Deca Strong record. Sorry, Deca
Oh,
Mile
that's
that I ran. So there you go.
oh, that's good. Get that on OCR report. It needs to go on there, and you can click the tag to share it. But anyway, it's come from an eclectic bunch because I'm thinking, yeah, we have some CrossFitters, we've got some swimmers, some triathletes, mountain biking. So, someone did the Atkins equivalent, but it's not everyone from obstacle racing has gone over to high rock. But I think most have tried it out, and a lot of the early adopters were definitely obstacle racers.
Right.
But a lot of the ones who are now at the top of sport have come from here, there, and everywhere.
Hey, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Go ahead and watch this video that they're recommending to you, or maybe it's here, wherever it is. Watch it. And again, please do subscribe to the channel so you're notified right away when you get these things. Love you, miss you, mean it. I've got to run.